Greetings and welcome to the latest garage update video. There are a few things to cover, so let's get into it. Okay, the majority of what I'm going to cover is in the boot area today, and as you can see, I do have some plastic trim removed. In fact, I've got all of the plastic trim removed from the boot hatch, but I will get to that shortly. Firstly, I'm going to go over what we have right here. So obviously this is just the boot floor, which you might be able to see is a bit raised up, and I mentioned in my previous video about the subwoofer install, which is right around here, that I had been trying out something in order to fill out the space on top of the existing foam in order to bring up the floor so that it could be flat with the new subwoofer, which is a bit thicker. So the first thing I'll do is I will remove this. Okay, so we can see our nice Bass Pro hub from JBL, which has been absolutely fantastic. I am absolutely loving it. It really is an amazing upgrade for the audio system in the RS. And yeah, you can see here what we have is this is what is called Shadowfoam, and you can see it's in bits because I have, like I said, been trialing this out. Now, this is available in a couple of different thicknesses, and the thicker of the two thicknesses is what I have been successful with, but you can see it's offcuts. This is like a sheet that I have been using just in my garage for its normal purpose, which is in drawers for cutting out inserts for tools and to make it all nice and neat. So yeah, like I say, this has been very successful, but of course it's not really ideal having, like, you know, blank space and stuff, but it's really just to test out the sort of feasibility, kind of like a proof of concept. So what I've gone and done is I have purchased a whole new sheet. So you can see this is from Sealy, but it is made by Shadowfoam. The reason why I got the Sealy version is because it's available in a slightly larger size, a larger sheet size. The thickness is the same, which is the 50 mil, so it's like 5 centimeters. This is the biggest sheet that I could get, individual sheet that I could get, and as you can see, I've got it in blue with a black top, which is the same as what is over there, and you can kind of see in the picture what you would normally use it for. So yeah, this is what I'm going to then use to put into the boot, and it is going to be the more permanent solution. Oh, hello, my little friend. So with the foam out, you can see that lengthways it's like loads, and obviously you could put it, you know, side on, but either way, we are still going to have, you know, a cut and a join kind of thing, kind of in a similar vein to what the stock foam does. It's in two parts, with one being a little wider than the other. So I think this side I will have like full length, and then this side I'll have obviously not full length with the cutaway for the woofer. And this stuff is like really easy to cut. All you really need is, you know, a decently sharp knife. I have a couple of knife options, and yeah, just like cuts right through real easy. It's remarkably light, so it's not adding any weight, and with testing through my old cut-off piece, it works real well. I am running it without the partial shelf though, and that is just so that if I'm going to the shops or whatever and I've got some, like, you know, bigger items with the reduced boot floor space, height won't be an issue with the partial shelf. I'm totally fine running it without that. I mean, you still get, like, you know, decent amount of space, but also, you know, you can hear what's going on around the back of the car, whether it be the bass from your woofer or your exhaust, without the partial shelf there, just a little bit more. So yeah, just gonna start cutting this up. So gonna cut this sort of approximately straight across at its like maximum amount needed here first, and then I will sort of trim the profile afterwards. There we are then, that is that side, the slightly larger side done, and real nice. So yeah, just gonna cut this. Because of just, I guess, the length of this, you'll probably need another like entire sheet if you wanted to cut this entire like profile. So what I'm gonna have to do, I'll just show you. This is the cut off. So like, this will be perfectly fine for this bit up here, but we'll still need an extra bit here, which I'll just cut off that there. But yeah, I might in the future get another full sheet and then do it even neater, but this will work just fine for now. Doing another medium-sized cut up here, followed by a final one here, and this is actually probably a good segue to mentioning that I've also done some right here for the little remote. I mentioned this in the subwoofer video, but at the time I still had the remote up in the cabin just to adjust all these dials. So at this point I have got it dialed in to where I'm pretty happy, but of course I can come in here and do some fine tuning if I want. Hopefully you can see the settings there, but what they are is phase at 180 degrees, low pass filter at 50 hertz. Well, it's actually slightly above the 50 hertz, but pretty much all the way down. The bass boost pretty much at 0, and then the gain, which is the amount of amplification, that's sort of around 11 o'clock. So yeah, that's the settings that I like. It really has an unbelievable amount of bass. If you crank it, you can probably shake the earth, but I find this to be a pretty nice sort of natural amount of bass that really complements the whole system, and that is in combination with some equalization tweaks as well on the sync system. Because before I had bass all the way up and a bit of reduction on like treble and mids just to try and like offset the lack of bass before. So I've kind of like basically hit the reset button and just sort of redone it all to my own tastes. But yes, you can see I cut a little rectangle of the exact same Shadowfoam out earlier and then cut a nice neat profile for the remote, and I have it sitting right here. It is sunken down, you can see maybe about 1.5 inches or so. So once the foam and the floor are on top, it's not gonna like hit the dials or anything, so they're not gonna like get changed. So I think that's a really nice neat solution, again using this Shadowfoam, which is really handy and really awesome stuff. So yeah, I've got to get some more foam cut and put in here, and then that will be that done. And there we go, that is all of our foam nicely cut around the woofer, of course, and looking really nice and neat. Not that it has to be nice and neat, of course, because I'm about to put the boot floor back on top, but it is a nice solution. So yeah, now I will just refit the boot floor and I will show you the finished product. And there we have it, lovely. And there is a little bit just from this cutaway in the floor over here. You can see a bit of the foam coming through. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I could just trim that off. But it is definitely now very usable. I mean, I could like literally get in here, no problem at all. And yeah, so moving on then to what I mentioned at the start, and the reason why I have this plastic trim off. Recently when I was driving around, in particular going around corners, I could hear something rattling around that sounded kind of metallic, like as if it was rattling from side to side going around corners, and it didn't take too long to work out that it was something with regards to the boot hatch, as if something was loose either inside the actual boot hatch or in between the hatch and the plastic trim. So I took the plastic trim entirely off, as you can see, and indeed this little bolt right here, which is one of the bolts for the rear wing, was literally off. It literally just backed its way out entirely, and it was just rattling around, sort of dangling around here in between the hatch and the trim. So yeah, obviously the solution then was to put it back in and get it in nice and tight. I also put some thread locker blue on there so that going forward it won't back out under vibration. Oddly enough, there wasn't any kind of a hint of any kind of thread locker from factory on those, which is kind of weird since it's obviously going to be like vibrating. Closing and opening the boot hatch is going to add vibrations, so you'd think a little bit of thread locker would have been useful from factory, but anyway, it's on there now and I've got it nice and tight. I then checked these other two and they were getting pretty loose, so I removed them, put thread locker on, tightened them all up. So now I'm all good and I'm ready to put the plastic trim back on. On the most part, the trim is literally just pressed in with these little like metal clips which are over the top of bits of plastic, so it just sort of clicks in, and conversely whenever I was removing it, it was just a case of yanking it, and then once everything is clicked into place apart from the two handles. There are then a couple of screws that go up in the middle of the two handles, and then you just click the handle trim on, and that is it. These are, you know, fine, but they are a little bit annoying because they can easily sort of come off these plastic bits, and they can fall into the middle of the boot hatch, which is obviously a bit of a problem. So if you're gonna do any of this, like check your bolts or whatever, just kind of be as careful as you can. You know, it's sometimes it's just one of those things that just happens and you can't really avoid it, but yeah, just do your best to like not lose these in the boot hatch. Otherwise you're gonna have to play around with like a magnet or whatever to fish them out. And there we go, we are all back together. Okay, the third and final thing for today then is this. This is the pollen filter, or the cabin air filter, which hasn't been changed in my car for some time, so I'm going to show you how to replace it today. Okay, inside the car then, I am in the passenger side, and I've just got a light here, just shining here. Hopefully you can see there's a couple of little like black screw looking things. They're just like plastic screws, they're not like, you know, super hardcore. So we need to unscrew these basically. So yeah, you just gotta unscrew them a bit and then give them a bit of a pull, and they should come off. Not on super tight at all. And then this little like panel should pop right off. So underneath here then, once you remove that panel, you can see stuff like that fuse panel, but up here right at the end of like the center console, so just around here, it's kind of hard to see because it's pretty dark up in here, but that little sort of hatch is where the pollen filter lives. So we need to just remove the top of that and then we can get access to it. Essentially what we need to do, there's like a couple of tabs here, and we just like pinch them like thumb and finger, and then the little door thing should come loose. Ooh, there we go. And now I can put my finger on the edge of the old filter. So, I mean, getting this out, it's essentially, you just pull it out. Now, whenever you're doing this, you don't want to like, you know, grab and yank on it too hard, because there's likely to be a bunch of pollen and dust and whatever, you know, clogged in the filter, and if you know, give it too hard of a yank, you might hit off things and you might release a bunch of that, and that would make a bit of a mess and not be very nice. So yeah, we just need to slide this out as carefully as we can. As far as design goes, it's pretty dumb, if I'm being totally honest, because, you know, there's stuff in the way, so it's almost impossible. I mean, I'm trying to do this with one hand, but I might need to get another hand up here because I can feel like cables and what have you just getting in the way. But yeah, essentially we just need to get this out. Probably gonna have to bend it in some way. Yeah. I think that's maybe, yeah, that's it now. Almost. Oh, just caught on that wee bit of plastic, and we're out. Okay, so with this out of the car, we can have a closer look. Again, I mean, if you open up the slats, you can kind of see, you know, there is like sort of some bits of clogged whatever in there. I mean, to look at, it doesn't necessarily look absolutely terrible, but whenever I look at my fingers, like from just touching it, they're like clearly covered in, you know, very fine dirt, which isn't very nice. Might not look so bad, but it is worth changing, and this is what I'm changing it with. I'll just zoom in here, you can see the part number, made in Germany, so you know it's good. So essentially the installation should be pretty simple. It's basically just the exact opposite of taking it out. We just need to get it in around those cables and bits of plastic sticking out, and then slot it in. I will go and wash my hands first. Okay, with our new filter in hand, then it kind of looks pretty much the same either side. So as far as what way it goes in, if you look on top, you'll see some writing, and you'll see it says airflow with some arrows. So essentially this is the way you want to go in. So yeah, that's pretty much just it. So as far as getting this in, we may need to, you can see it kind of like, you know, accordions up a bit, so it is okay to bend it a bit just to get it in and around there. But yeah, essentially just getting it around all those obstacles until such a time as we get it nice and sort of straight, and then once we do, it'll just slide in, and that will be it. Before I get the filter in though, I'm going to give up in there a little bit of a clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some of this turtle wax multi-purpose cleaner and disinfectant onto a microfiber, which I'm then going to wrap around this bendy screwdriver, and then, you know, just give it a bit of a clean up in there, and then we can slot in our new filter. So the way that this little door thing works, it's kind of awkward. You want to get the top in first. It has these little tabs that slide in, and then there's like a little like notch that lines up with like a sort of pin. So we want to get that kind of like up, and then bring the bottom down in place, which will then click in with the squeezy tabs. And in order to do that, we will have to sort of give it a decent push, because like the carpet kind of gets in the way. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. All right, so I've got it located on the upper bit. You can kind of see it's like, you know, compressed down. Well, maybe you can't see, it's quite hard to illuminate in here, but it's like pressed down into the floor here. So I kind of just need to give it a push down with one hand, and then a push in until we clear this little hump, and then it should click into place. Okay, so now I just place this back in and secure it. Well, I suppose I say secure it, but they're very loosely on there with these two little screw things, and that will be this little maintenance item done. And I'm done. Well, there we are. That is the latest garage update video. Various things in the car, fixing, maintaining, updating, just getting and keeping everything good. So I like that. I'm very happy with everything that we've done, and there's more to come very, very soon. So make sure you're subscribed for that. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.